We're back, people, and today we're going to film on Miami Dolphins' newest linebacker, KJ Britt. Another sort of solid depth signing, in my opinion, how you look at it. He's an old school, violent, downhill, like run-thumping linebacker, like the very definition of it. He plays hard, fast, physical at the point of attack. That's where he's going to make his impact if he has to play, is as a run defender. He's got some decent range. I think he's more of a linear athlete. Like, don't ask him to change directions too much. That's where he can sort of struggle in coverage. Like, he'll do some, if you, like, give him something basic, easy to look at, where he just has to run in a straight line, he can make a play in coverage, but he can definitely be exposed there. I kind of think he's the replacement for, you know, your David Longs, your Anthony Walkers, kind of a Landon Roberts type. But compared to those guys, KJ Britt is also still 25 and has much less of an injury history, so I kind of prefer him over them at this point, because there's still some upside there with his age, and he doesn't have the injury history of, you know, Walker and David Long, and he can still, you know, make some physical plays. As long as he's like, if he's your like linebacker 3, I don't think that's that bad. I actually think, you know, he can come in certain games and probably make more of an impact. Now, if he gets, there's certain teams that would be able to expose him more in coverage and stuff like that. But I do like the signing for what it is. Cheap, obviously cheap, young, and has a very specific skill set that you can take advantage of. He's also a leader too. Like, there's videos of me being a leader, very tough. I think the Dolphins kind of need that mentality. So definitely one of the signings that I feel more confident about, especially the ones that happened on this day. Like, I like the Britt signing more than like Alexander Madison and stuff like that. We won't even talk about the Liam Eichenberg re-signing, but okay, so let's break some of this down. I think he has pretty good instincts working in between the tackles, enough range to get sideline to sideline. I don't think there's a crazy change of direction. Look at him anticipate this cutback lane so fast, and like, he sees the leverage of this guy. He can tell with the angle that this guy's going to cut and get over, so he's able to identify, scrape, and fill and fit into that gap. Just really, really good with his run fits. Meeting him at the line too, limit those gains, like don't allow him to pick up a first down, and like that was a short yardage situation. Really good stuff. And I think he has enough, like, boom, he recognizes like these outside zones, tosses very quickly. I think he has enough range to get out there laterally, beat offensive linemen to the point of attack, and still make a play. Good tackler, I think, you know, especially on like running plays. He'll miss some tackles out in space on like receivers and tight ends, but like, he's very consistent, I think, you know, making these tackles at the line of scrimmage behind them, that type of thing. Very physical player, man. Like, love the mentality that he's able to play with. And I think like he's an improvement on what you had with your run stuffing linebackers, and I think he kind of complements what, like, obviously Brooks is your main linebacker, your clear stud. Then him and Tyrell Dotson will probably, you know, fight for a starting spot, at least at this point with what you have on the roster. And they kind of have complementary skill sets. I think Dotson's much better in coverage, while Britt's better versus the run. So maybe, you know, you can get a nice little rotation out of them at times. But here, just identifying, like, feel this, you know, what's going on here. This is down blocking. He understands, like, to scrape over the top, meet the running back at the point of attack. They're in Wildcat, so he meets the running back at the point of attack. He's constantly staying square, active with his feet, low, you know, bending at the knees, good base, takes on the block, gets the outside half to force him back into help, and then also help make the tackle. That's just textbook linebacker play. Love seeing that. As I'm saying, in pursuit, quick enough to where, like, if he has the leverage advantage on an offensive lineman, you are not going to be able to reach him in time. Like, he identifies the plays too quickly, and then, you know, takes a good angle in pursuit, get down the line as a weak side linebacker, and get a nice big hit there on Bijan. Willing to take on blocks at the point of attack. Here he takes on a tight end. Boom. Look at the pop, violent hands. Like, look at where he meets Noah Gray. Boom, pops him up. And that's just how you help constrict those run lanes. So, good work there from KJ Britt. Definitely one of the more, I think, you know, interesting films out of like these super cheap, because Dolphins are signing a lot of super cheap guys to like 1-year deals because they kind of have to with like their cap situation. But I think there's a decent amount of them that I like. I kind of put KJ Britt in the Ashton Davis tier, where like I think there's some potential impact that they can make as depth guys. But I still prefer, obviously, like the James Daniels, the Nick Westbrook, Akine ones, even Melifonwu. But I think in that next tier I would put those guys. And then there's some towards the end that I don't put too much stock into. They may not even play very much. They might not even make the team. But here's him out on the edge. Look at the range. Get out there, make a play on the, you know, almost near the sideline versus screen. Like, it's not like he has like insane athleticism or speed or anything, but like he is a constant motor. He's hustling, and like his identification helps him get out there as well. Because like there's play speed, like I don't think he would maybe test super well, but there's play speed where like it's a combination of how fast you're able to process, which allows then your body to get out there and make a play. Here's another example: blowing up the receiver, making a tackle for the loss on another screen outside. Then there's problems like this in coverage. I feel like if he has to change directions and there's too much going on, or he has to carry people far downfield, I feel like he can spot drop, and if things are kept simple underneath, he can chase it down. Like there's certain examples of him making a play in coverage, but this is not his strength at all. Like here he gets caught a little bit late on mesh, and he just doesn't have the like he's a little bit stiff in coverage, and then now that allows him to get beat and isn't able to catch up to the running back in time in those situations. That's where I think he can struggle for you. But he just has some good stuff first run like this. With the motion, he gets bumped down. So the motion happens from the tight end. He gets bumped down, and look at him react and still get back across to make a play and help trip up this running back to hold him to not get into the end zone. That's just very, very impressive from him. Taking on blocks, here he is, throwing his body, I believe, into Zach Tom. Yeah, so into Zach Tom to just like constrict that run lane. Like don't get washed too far there. Able to peel back, constant fighting. That's just good run fits. Understand where your gap is, and taking on an offensive lineman like that, it's not very easy. And I love that physical part of his game. I think the Dolphins need that. And with how obviously the league has moved away from run stopping linebackers, but there's still value to be had, especially now. I feel like teams went pretty run heavy last season. So I feel like against certain opponents, he'll have better games. And there will be certain opponents where like you probably don't want him on the field. As a blitzer, I wouldn't say he does anything too crazy. I wouldn't say it's his best, but here's an example of him blowing up a running back. Like he is very willing to get physical and do that type of thing. I don't think he has the crazy athleticism to be a super effective blitzer. More of the run is where he's going to make his name. Just feel the flow, shuffle, predict the cutback lane, what's going on there, and make the tackle at the line of scrimmage. Just nice anticipation, constantly processing what's going on. This is where like you're more going to see him in coverage. Like just drop to a spot, read the quarterback's eyes. Like he'll get to his spot, gain his depth, and then if it's something thrown underneath, like he'll rally to it and make a play and make a tackle. Like that's kind of where KJ Britt is more comfortable in coverage stuff. It's those situations, as we saw some stuff versus the screens, which isn't exactly the same, but it's those downhill plays. And I'm like, look at him just read, react, constantly shuffling. Look how his shoulders are always square to the line of scrimmage too. Constantly staying square, which allows him to just be more efficient. Like because he's not a great athlete, but it allows him to be more efficient with his movement skills when you're constantly staying square to like bounce laterally like that and make that tackle for loss. Here he is avoiding a guy. Just the center tries to cut him off. Look at him like get underneath it and then still get in pursuit to make the tackle on Derrick Henry. A lot of times when guys slip underneath like that, they kind of can take themselves out of the play, but he still is able to make that tackle. So good job making a decision in that moment. KJ Britt, just here, look at him feel the cutback already happening with this tight end. The peripheral vision, he kind of reads the mesh point. He peripheral vision sees this guy working away. He knows the cutback could happen. He's able to fit into that hole. Super, super impressive that he's able to go, because he kind of has a couple responsibilities to. He's kind of working off what Vea is doing here, but he has the responsibility to fill in here. But based on what's going on, he also has to be able to peel back and get that secondary gap, which he does and makes that tackle. Just really, really enjoy his run game work. Constantly reading what's going on, fitting the run. So that's kind of what KJ Britt brings to the team for Miami, is a quality, violent run defender. That's still young, only 25. You don't want to ask him to too much in coverage, because he will get. If there's games where like you're constantly putting him in bad spots in coverage, he will get exposed. So that's kind of where you have that tricky workaround. But when you consider the deal, and you're taking him on to be a depth guy, there's definitely worse options to have. So if you guys are doing it, like, comment, subscribe,